Well, I want to welcome you to sourdough bread baking. And I know nothing about baking, so I will introduce you to some wonderful people here in just a few moments. But I am Pastor Mark Waters, and I'm the pastor of this church, and I just wanted to officially welcome you here and have a short word of prayer. But I also want to let you know that this is for your benefit today, because on the screen, right? But also, if you've registered and you gave us your email address, then we're going to send you a edited link to this video, so you'll have access to it after today as well. So anyway, was there something else I was supposed to say about that, Nelson?
That's it.
Fantastic. Well, with that, if you don't mind, let's bow our heads for a quick word of prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to come together and to learn how to bake this specific kind of bread. Lord, I'm excited to learn and bless those that their hands have been ready and working and preparing for this day. And so I thank you, Father, for this opportunity. We look to serve you in all that we do. We love you, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. So now I want to introduce you to somebody who actually kind of put most of all this together and was bugging people like, are you going to do this? And are you willing to do this? And so I'm going to let her introduce all of our chefs. But I want to introduce to you our health ministries leader here at Chestatee SDA Adventist Church, and also our women's ministries leader. This is Rachel Pinson. We should give her a round of applause.
Yay.
Thank you, Pastor Mark. So, we are super excited that all of you are here. I know you came from many different parts of Georgia. Some of you came a really long way, and so we just want to thank you for taking time out of your Sunday. We know everybody's got busy schedules, and we're just happy to see all of your faces and have so much that we're excited to share with you. So you're probably wondering, why is the church putting on a baking class? And so I just want to share a few things with you that you may not know. This is a Seventh-day Adventist church, and we are known for being part of the Blue Zones. Have you all heard of the Blue Zones before? Yeah? Okay. No? Okay. Well, in case you haven't heard of them, the Blue Zones are different parts of the world that have been discovered to have a large group of people that live to be centurions. They live to be 100 years old or older. And our denomination is really excited to be a part of that group. And the specific location that has been listed in the Blue Zones is our church group, which is located in Loma Linda, California. You've probably heard of Loma Linda University. It's known for training a lot of medical doctors. It's a very good school. Anyway, so since we've become known for that, we like to help other people to have good health as well, and so we love to teach. You may not know this, but our denomination is also known for our great plant-based cooking. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be teaching you how to make sourdough bread, gluten-free sourdough bread, as well as a plant-based soup. And so now I would like to introduce you to our chefs that we have presenting for you today. Our first chef that's going to be presenting the soup is Marjorie Stickles. Marjorie is a Seventh-day Adventist realtor and a trade show professional with more than 32 years of experience helping companies create successful exhibit experiences across the country. She is passionate about serving others, whether helping families buy and sell homes or working with clients to bring their vision to life. Marjorie learned her love of cooking from her mother and has carried that passion throughout her life. She and her husband, Stephen, it's right there, have been blessed to raise 6 children and are now the proud grandparents of 8 grandchildren. Family, faith, and hospitality have always been at the heart of their home. When she's not working, Marjorie enjoys preparing wholesome, homemade meals and opening her home to family and friends. She loves sharing practical cooking skills and believes that food is one of God's gifts for bringing people together, creating lasting memories, and extending hospitality to others. Let's give Marjorie. Next we have Anna. Anna Ababi is married to Vitali Ababi, who happens to be our head deacon. They've been married for 15 years and have 4 wonderful children, Sophia, Rebecca, David, and Aaron. They came to the United States almost 14 years ago, and they are from Moldova. Anna fell in love with cooking and baking when she was a child, learning from her mom, who is right there. And her mom's name is Sophia, and she's our head deaconess. And Anna started baking sourdough in February of 2022. And that's what you see on your tables. Next we have Kenny. Kenny is a devout Seventh-day Adventist that puts God first above all. He is married to his beautiful wife, Vivian, who is from Ghana, West Africa, and they've been married for 16 years. He has the ability to talk and connect with anyone. He grew up as a military brat and has lived all over the country, including 16 states, and been to 42 of the 50 states. They have lived in Georgia for 2 years and love it. He has worked in the bakery industry for over 27 years, including as an artisan baker, leader, manager, and director, which has provided opportunities to live in the Caribbean, Hawaii, and all over the U.S. He loves to teach and train and looks forward to this opportunity. So, I wanted to thank you all for sharing your phone numbers and email addresses. I wanted to let you know that we do have some other things coming up in the near future that we would love to share with you. We're going to be doing some presentations here on brain health, where you will be able to hear from both Dr. Neil Nedley, who's a world-renowned internal medicine doctor that speaks on a lot of issues regarding brain health, everything from how to prevent dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, things like that, through lifestyle medicine. And he also is known for helping people with depression and anxiety. In addition to Dr. Neil Nedley presenting for our brain health series that we're going to do here, we also have Dr. James Markham, who's a very well-known cardiologist. So in addition to telling you about those upcoming events, we'll also let you know about our future cooking classes. We have a garden ministry here at our church. You can probably look out the window and see our amazing garden. And so Diana, if you want to raise your hand, she and her husband are the ones in charge of our garden, and her husband was so kind to go out there and harvest some produce for y'all this morning. So we have okra, corn, tomatoes, and squash and zucchini, and you are welcome when you leave to take any of that you would like. It's all organic, and it's delicious. So without further ado, we will let Marjorie start teaching the soup making.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm just a home cook. Like, this is my first experience, so please don't judge me. So I came across this recipe that I really liked, and I mentioned it to Rachel. It's called roasted tomato and red pepper soup. And I didn't realize how easy it was to make. I would have made this for my children when they were younger if I'd have known that it only takes 10 minutes to prepare. The longest part is actually cooking. So, and it's all fresh vegetables that you can have out of your garden or run to the grocery store and prepare. So what I've done is I've taken seeds out of this to prepare it in advance so it won't take as long to cut everything up and to clean everything out. But really, it's just, you have recipes in your little booklets, and it's really just 3 bell peppers, 2 onions, 2 heads of garlic, the whole thing, tomatoes of your choice, and then the seasonings. Now, I add in a poblano pepper, but just because I like the flavor. It doesn't make it hot or spicy. It just adds a really good flavor to it, and they're about $1 really a piece. You can probably get them a little less expensive. And so, yeah, so that's what I do. So basically what I need to do, and I forgot to do, is spray my pan. Let me just spray this really quickly. You just spray your cooking surface. You could probably use aluminum foil, or I tried parchment paper the other day, but you really want it to get a char on it, so it's better if it's just a sheet. And really just cut up the vegetables and stick them on the pan. Also wanted to mention, I just learned this. If it has 3 little bumps here, it's actually good for cooking. And if it has 4, it's really good for salads and just eating, which I didn't realize. And I love that I learned something new. So once you get all these on here, then we'll season them. I always just pick 2 regular tomatoes and then some cherry tomatoes, 2 packages of cherry tomatoes. This pan is a little smaller than the one I use at home, but really just stick it all on there as close as you can. So 2 whole onions, then I'm going to do the garlic and then the tomatoes. And just push it all around. And then the whole head. So you just cut off the top of the head. I just learned on this recipe that it says you can cover it with aluminum foil, but I've never done that. I was like, oh, I didn't see that. So I just put it directly on the pan without covering it. So that's easy, right? So that's pretty much it. And it's just a bunch of fresh vegetables. So then what you want to do is season it. So I season with my heart. I don't get out a measuring spoon, so I just pour some olive oil on here. Make sure you get olive oil on the garlic. And then I did pick an olive oil that has 1 ingredient, olive oil. And it comes from Greece. So it's authentic olive oil versus some of the olive oils you can get are a mixture and they're a combination. They're from all over the place. And I just do crushed pepper. And then some salt.
Does it matter what kind of salt, whether it's sea salt or kosher?
I don't think it does. I've been using table salt, and this I mixed with the pink Himalayan salt and regular salt. It's just preference, whichever salt you usually cook with. And then some Italian seasoning. And I also want to tell you a little bit about the seasonings that I'm using. Cayenne pepper. A lot of people are scared of cayenne pepper, but cayenne pepper is great. I cut my finger, put a little cayenne pepper on it, didn't make me scream, stopped the bleeding. So I'll read you in a second, some of the benefits of some of the things that I'm putting in here are great for you. So it just says a pinch. So I usually just put a little bit in the palm of my hand. And then it's great if you can just start adding it to some soups and things that you're making. That's really it. Pretty simple. And then we're going to stick it in the oven. And we're going to cook it. So this is going to vary according to your oven. It says 400 degrees for I think 40 or 50 minutes. I ended up cooking mine at 435 for 50 minutes in my oven. You really want to get a little bit of a char on it. And once it's done, take it out. This is what you want it to look like.
That was fast.
I know, magic. The Lord has blessed me. So that's it. So you want to take it out and let it set for about 15 minutes, mostly because I don't want to burn myself squeezing the garlic out. It makes your house smell amazing. I cooked all of it yesterday, or no, Friday actually, for this class. I was cooking it all day Friday, and my house still smells wonderful. All right, so you're basically going to take this and you're going to put it into this blender. Rachel, do you want to read some of the benefits of the spices while I do this? For me? Thank you.
So cayenne pepper, which is also known as capsaicin, may support heart health and may improve circulation. It may boost metabolism, may reduce inflammation and pain. Capsaicin is commonly used in topical creams to relieve arthritis, nerve pain, and muscle soreness. It supports digestion, which stimulates the digestive enzymes in stomach food, helping digestion in some people. Rich in antioxidants, vitamins A, C, and E, and carotenoids that help protect cells from oxidative stress. That's a lot of it. Next, garlic supports heart health, may lower blood pressure and improve cholesterol levels, supports the immune system. It's a powerful antioxidant. It contains sulfur compounds like allicin that help protect cells from oxidative damage. They may help regulate blood sugar. It's a natural antimicrobial. It has natural antimicrobial properties. Garlic has antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal properties. Italian seasoning, which contains oregano, basil, thyme, rosemary, marjoram, and sage. It's rich in antioxidants. Rosemary, oregano, basil, and sage may help reduce inflammation. Oregano and thyme support immune health. Marjoram, basil, oregano, and thyme may aid digestion. And let's see, they provide the vitamins K and A, iron, calcium. So when you leave here, you'll be like Superman.
So thank you, Rachel.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
You're
It's hard for me to read that and do this at the same time.
It's okay.
So now that all the vegetables are in here, basically the recipe says you can put 2 to 3 cups of vegetable broth in it. Depends on how many people you're serving. More broth, less broth, more hearty. I usually put about 3 to 4 cups. But the vegetables are in there too, so it's probably not a true 3 to 4 cups. Because it just fills around it. And this is coconut cream, which we'll put in when it's done. And on mine, it has ounces, and it usually makes about 64 ounces. Pretty average every time, even though I'm not measuring. And then you just want to transfer it into a pot. That's pretty much it, other than the fact that you want to add some type of cream to it. This is coconut cream, but you can do oat cream if you prefer oat cream, or regular cream if you're not vegan, but this keeps it vegan. Okay, and then you just put it on the stove and heat it up. And when you put it in your bowls, I have this, so you can just like put a little extra on top if you want. And you can put olive oil on top, and then you can just eat it with sourdough bread, or you can eat it in bread bowls. That's it. I hope you enjoy it.
When you blend it, is there a specific thickness you're looking for?
Not me. I'm just looking to really blend it down, cut up all the vegetables. You could probably blend it a little bit less. It is, you'll taste it. It's like chunky a little bit,
Okay.
but it's fine chunks when it's done.
And that's just a normal blender? Anything special?
Mine is just a Ninja blender that I've had for years, but any blender would work. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not familiar with oat cream. Can I get it at Kroger?
Yes, you can get oat cream in Kroger. It's in the dairy section with the milk. And this is, I find it on the Asian aisle.
That I'm familiar with.
Yeah. Any other questions?
When do we eat?
Well, it's ready. We just got to bake the bread. But the soup's ready. It was ready on Friday.
So next we're going to have a little talk by Kenny. He's going to tell us a little bit about the history of sourdough and also some of the health benefits of sourdough. And then after that, we will get instruction from Anna on how to make the sourdough.
All right, so I'm gonna go through a brief history of sourdough and some of the health benefits of sourdough bread, and then Anna's gonna go right into actually making the sourdough. After Anna's finished, then I'm going to come in and show you how to make some gluten-free sourdough. Not quite as good as real sourdough, but there's some people that just can't have gluten. So there are some techniques that we'll show you that, or I'll show you that you can do to replicate sourdough. So the history of sourdough, a lot of people think that sourdough started in like the 1840s, 1850s, and 60s in San Francisco, but it didn't. Sourdough started like 5,000 years ago. So the Egyptians are the ones that actually became artisan bakers. And so way back 2,000-3,000 before Christ. So what happened was somebody mixed up a little bit of dough and then left it overnight. And so back in those times, everything was flatbread. There was really no leavening. There was no yeast. There's yeast always in the air, but nobody knew that. So they always made just flat bread. Water, flour, salt. That's the basic breads. And someone found out, they left some of that dough together, and boom, it actually fermented. And so that's where they decided, oh, okay, well, if we do this, and they made different variations of sourdough bread, and that's where it started. And sourdough bread was famous or infamous throughout all the way up until about the 1700s. And then as they got into 1800s, and a lot of people came over to the United States started to grow, and the Industrial Revolution changed everything. And so when they started producing yeast from factories, That's when all the bread changed. People didn't think that it was fun anymore to have to start a sourdough, feed it, continue feeding it, getting rid of some, feeding it again, and then keeping it. It was much easier to just add a little bit of yeast, whether it's dry yeast or instant yeast or fresh yeast, and that's how bread pretty much changed. So once it lost its popularity in the end of the 1700s and the 1800s, there was actually French bakers that came over and landed in San Francisco and started and brought some of their cultures, some of their sourdough starters from France. And I know it's interesting because I always joke because I'm not always huge on the French, because if you take a look at baguettes, it's a French baguette, but they didn't create the French baguette. That was created in Vienna, but they kind of took that idea and then they ate so much of it, created so much of it that now it's French baguette. So the same type of thing happened with sourdough. But with the sourdough in San Francisco when it landed, a lot of people were moving up there for the gold rush. So a lot of the gold rush folks would go up into the mountains. They had no access to yeast that was being produced, so they would carry sourdough starters with them. Where the French came into it was that they became very popular in San Francisco, where they started creating recipes, not just breads, but a lot of pastries and stuff with sourdough starter. And that started a trend. So a lot of the 49ers or a lot of the people that were mining would literally bring sourdough in a jar, in a can, would bring it with them as they were mining. And so at night when they'd get close to the fire, they'd mix up flour, water, whatever else they had, oat, whatever, and then they would use their sourdough starter, and that's how they created sourdough. So if you've ever heard the expression, oh, it's a San Francisco sourdough, that's where it comes from. And so in this country, that was prolific, like I said, until they started mass producing all of the yeast products. So sourdough kind of went to the wayside, and the breads that you see in the grocery store now or any bakery that you go to for the most part are derivatives from the Industrial Revolution. So you're having yeast. That's what I do in my job. I actually go around and I sell to the large bakeries around the country, yeast and other items. Okay, so what makes sourdough special is that it's a natural fermentation process. So all you have to do is start with water and flour. You mix them together and you just let it sit. And Anna has some of her starter. I have some of the gluten-free starter. It's all the same thing. What you do is you just allow the air or the natural yeast in the air to start to break down and start to grow and ferment inside of the starter. And every day you just need to come through and take about half of it out, add about half. And I've got the exact amounts, but let's just say 50-50 water and flour. Gluten-free is a little bit different. You need to do a little bit more water. But anyway, so the health benefits of sourdough. So sourdough, because it takes a long time to ferment, there are so many benefits to it. The natural sourdough actually helps with your digestion. So I've got a few notes that I'm gonna review with you guys. So there's 5 key benefits to sourdough. So easier digestion. So the long, slow fermentation process uses lactic acid bacteria to partially kind of take away and eat away at the carbohydrates that are in the bread. And also it breaks down gluten. And so as it breaks down gluten, it allows your body to process that stuff much easier. Another key example of that is in bread that you buy now, there is phytic acid that is inside that is inside of bread. And what that does is it prevents your body to intake the nutrients that the bread creates. Iron, magnesium, those type of things. So what sourdough does is it breaks down the bacteria and those strains, and it makes it so that you can also consume, that your body can intake the iron and whatnot. Also, it has a lower blood sugar index. So basically, because of that long fermentation process, right away when you eat white bread, there's a rush of glucose that goes to your body, that goes to your blood. That doesn't happen with sourdough. Because of that long process, it actually slowly injects that into your bloodstream. So if you're a diabetic, it is much easier, much better for you to eat sourdough bread than any of the processed breads that you would eat. Another thing is it improves, so I talked about the absorption. So it improves absorption from all the iron and the magnesium, which your body has to have in order to process things like vitamin D and things of that nature. Also helps with gut, it supports your gut. So the lactic acid, it creates prebiotics and probiotics that help to break down the microbes in your colon, and so it's easier to digest. And probably one of the most significant things is that it's a natural preservative. So normal breads that you'd buy at the grocery store, they've got some kind of preservative in it. And so whether it's a Calpro, or there's many different ones, some people will use a little bit more salt to help. Well, because of that fermentation process, that creates acid that actually slows that down. So if you take a look at this sourdough, I recommend you eat it all today, but if you kept it on your shelf, guaranteed you would not see mold probably for 5, 6, 7 days. And it's not because it's got all this extra stuff in it. It's because naturally that long fermentation process has created that environment that will keep away the mold. So that's just a little bit about sourdough. Now we're going to go right into Anna's presentation. Does anybody have any questions? Awesome. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hello, everyone. I will try to show you how I make sourdough bread. We start, of course, sourdough starter. Today you will get jar of sourdough starter. We have in the fridge, to not grow too much. Here I have a sourdough starter. It's almost done, maybe like 20 minutes more, so ready to use it. It's like here, 400 grams of starter, so it grows a lot. When you feed your starter, you need your jar to be only 1/3 of starter because it grows like 2 times. So when it's ready, actually it's ready, but you need to see not to be a dome. First, sorry for my English. And the bubbles, but here you can see the line. I don't know, you show? You can see the line. It's not like a dome.
A dome, yeah.
A dome, yeah, it's not a dome, yeah. So it's ready to start. First of all, we need water, not tap water. We need filtered water or bottled water.
Bottled water works
Yeah,
too, yeah.
yeah, works too. We need a kitchen scale. You can do by cups. Cups sometimes 1 cup can be more than just 1 cup if you. So I like to use scale, kitchen scale. So first I'm put water. It's how it's in the recipe. It's 400. Oh, this recipe it's for 1 bread or 3 of these bread balls. From this recipe you can make 3 bread balls. Today I will show you how we make bread balls. But you to know the recipe, it's 1 bread, 1 whole bread. It's kind of like this one, big one. This is chocolate. Okay, we put filtered water, 450 grams. It's okay if you go up. And I use more sourdough. Usually people use like 100 grams of sourdough starter. I use 200 grams because it fermented faster. So it should not stay too much on the counter. So we put 200 grams of sourdough starter. And it's good to see if your starter is good. It's good to grow. It floats. Okay, let's put 1 little piece so you'll see it floats. Because it's too much. Oh, come on. See, it's floating. So this is good to use.
If it didn't float, is it because it needs more time?
Yeah, more time, yeah. So I said, it should not have at the edge dome. It should be. And it's okay if it's starting to go down, like 1 hour, it's okay. It's okay to use. Today I used, like after 2 hours, already started to go down. Because you will see it goes on the edge, it goes out, you see. So it's okay to use, not too much, like too many hours, because it will be too sour, the sourdough. So I like to use this one. I used, there is metal one, but I broke like 3, so it's very good one, the wood one. You can use a fork, a big fork, but it's hard, it's harder. I mean, depends. For one recipe, usually I make more breads, so it's hard to mix. So we mix water and the sourdough starter till it's like a milky color.
Is that cold water or warm water?
This is cold. It's not warm, but I warm like 85, 90 degrees Fahrenheit. You know, a little warm water because it will grow faster. I use 4 types of flour. It's very important, I mean, very important how you want, but it's more important to use organic, not bleached. You can use all-purpose flour or bread flour. Of course, bread flour is much better, but this, because of the protein, this is good too. I like the Costco one. So we put all-purpose flour, 475 grams. It's good to sieve because it gives oxygen. I sieve in all my baking the flour. Oops, too much. It's okay. And I use whole wheat flour. I don't measure how much wheat flour. I just go till 600 grams of flour together. And dry flour I use. You can use only one type of flour, only all-purpose, but would be plain, kind of. This flour gives more taste, more better. I like when I use more. Okay. And now we put salt. Salt the same. It's very important. I forgot. Sorry. Salt is very important too. Don't use tap salt. Table salt? No, table salt, sorry. Table salt. Use sea salt. I use pink Himalayan salt. The same. Because the table salt, it's bleached, I think. So will kill the bacteria from sourdough starter. So we put 12 grams. Okay, 12 grams. And we mix. That's it. This is the all ingredients in the bread. We mix just when everything is incorporated, so we don't see flour, dry flour.
You have to be careful not to overmix.
No. This is no. Of course, you will not overmix it. You can use a mixer, KitchenAid or something. But usually I don't use it because I don't have a big one. If you use a mixer, don't mix too much because after that we will do a fold, so it kind of mixing. So kind of that's it. We'll use cutter. It's very helping.
And part of the problem when you're using a mixer is sometimes your dough gets too warm too fast. So if you're in an industrial bakery, some of them have mixers that you go by temperature. This is the way that bread was first introduced and first made. And then to me, by doing it by hand, it's much better. You're not going to get it to activate too fast, so you don't want your sourdough starter to take off before the bread's ready.
Yeah, and if you use mixer, just mix till it's incorporated, not too much. So we can scrape everything and we leave it. We leave it for 1 hour to rest a little bit. Sorry. You can put a kitchen towel, but I prefer a rug to put to not get dry. So we leave for 1 hour. Okay, here is after 1 hour. It rested, more than 1 hour. You can see it's more settled than this one. So now we start to do folds. It helps water to not stick off your hands. So after 1 hour, we start to do folds. So this way we put air in the bread, it gets, like a good dough. And we will do folds and every 30 minutes.
And the technical thing that she's doing right now, she's building the gluten structure. So by every time you're building the fold, the gluten is starting to get stronger and it's all going to come together. And by the end that she's finished, she's going to have a nice dough ball that she'll be able to bake. And so you've got to continue doing that. If you do it all at once, the flavor is in the process of what you're doing. So you're gaining more flavor, more time. This is a slow process. You don't want to rush these.
So you do like that. And we do 3 times. If your house is cold, you can do 4 times. But it's warm, you need to do quicker because it grows faster if it's warm in the house. I forgot about the starter to say it's very important the temperature and how long you need, the time you need to make bread. For example, if you need in the morning to do the bread, to make the dough, you feed the starter in the evening, like when you go to sleep. Longer hours takes if you feed more. This starter I feed 10 grams of starter, 50 grams of flour, and 60 grams or 40 grams of water, and 50 grams of flour. So I make more stronger if you feed, so it take more hours to grow, to be ready the starter. If you need, like in 4 hours, 5 hours the starter, you feed 10 grams starter, 10 grams water, 10 grams flour will grow because it eats faster, it's less food for the starter. So it depends how long you need to make the bread. Usually I do in the evening and do the bread in the morning, but if I forget in the evening, I feed in the morning, and like in 5-6 hours, I start doing the bread. Okay, so we did one time. After 30 minutes, we do again, how I show you. It's every time it's easier. The dough it's more, more workable. It will not be so sticky like first time because it gets more air and the gluten is getting more easy to work with. After third time, we leave on the counter. Depends how warm is your kitchen, your house. It can be like 30 minutes. For example, in the summer, my house it's warm, like 75, 76 in the house. So it can be like 1 hour. Till 1 hour, it's ready to put in the fridge dough. If your house colder, it takes like 4 hours, 5 hours. So you need the dough to look like this one. This is already done, three folds, and it's ready. So what you need to look, you need for bubbles. If you see here, it's a bubble. It's a little bit over, I think, because it's too hot here. I don't know for you. But you need to look bubbles, and should not be flat, like what I said about the starter. It should be done because it's flat, it's overproofed. So this one is done. So how I said, from this one you can make 1 bread. But we will make 3 balls. I use this, so you can, if you want, like fancy, there is on Amazon Banneton balls. Or you can use, I got this kind of Bannetons for a big bread. So when we put on the counter, I use usually on the counter, but we use rice flour to not stick on the counter or to not stick on the towel because we put towels. So we put rice flour because the rice flour doesn't absorb in the dough or doesn't, as we use, we use all-purpose flour, will absorb and will get stick. So now the dough it's ready to go in the fridge. So we will shape and we will put in the fridge. I use towels, cotton towels, and again I put rice flour here too.
If you put regular flour in there, when you go to take it out of the fridge, it's going to be absorbed. So then all it's going to happen is where you put that flour, it's not going to bake evenly. So it's going to be soft there, and and you're trying to get a nice crust,
Yeah.
it'll be soft at that point, but the rest of it will be hard. So that's why if you use rice flour, it's really good. It won't absorb.
Again, if it's overproofed, it's very sticky. So it will not go away from the bowl like that. It will be overproofed. So usually I measure, but I will not. I just cut in 3 and make little balls. Okay, now we fold it. We shape. We shape. You go, if you have a scraper, this is very helpful. If not, you can do just with hands. Like that. And it gets tighter and tighter. But on the wood, it's not working, so we need scraper. So see, bubbles. This is very ready. It's not sticky. It's easier to work. With whole bread, it's much easier to work because it's bigger, you know. So we leave like that 20 minutes to get a little bit of skin, you know, dry. But we don't leave now, so we don't have time. So I will do right away. After you leave 20 minutes, you do again rice flour, and you take it. Will be easier if you leave it 20 minutes. So we take like that. See, it's not working now, but it's okay. And we fold again, we shape again. I like shaping like that, kind of like diapers. And we don't need flour now. We do like that, with hands or scraper. So again, we shape it very tight. And that's it. Put again flour, and we put in the bowl.
And you want to put it upside down.
Yeah.
Because when you pour it out the next day, and the top is nice and round.
Yeah. So again, when it's big bread, it's much easier to work because you have more dough. See, it's very wiggly, so it's very good. So when you want to make bread with something inside, for example, that chocolate one or cheddar, jalapeno, this is the time when you put the things inside. When you shape a little bit and you put the inclusions. Okay. So they are ready to go in the fridge for overnight or for some few hours. Depends. I like to do again after 5 minutes of resting. I like to do again like that. Making tensions, I think. Yeah.
Tightening it.
Yeah. So when rest more minutes, it's very good to work with. You know, it's elastic. And we put some flour here too. And we wrap like that and put in the fridge. Okay, I will do this after. Now I have in the fridge ready to go in the oven. So we put overnight or for 4 hours, 5 hours, depends when you're ready to bake it. It can stay like 2 days, but 72 hours depends. Of course, it will be more sour.
The longer you give it to ferment, the more flavorful it's going to be. So if you go 6 hours, or 12 hours, or 18 hours, you're going to get a different taste of that bread. Ideal artisan baking is 18 hours.
You can bake the bread in Dutch oven. That is ideal in Dutch oven. You know, it gets a good crust. You can bake, I like for my family to bake in pans. You put the bread, I put the bread before night, so it goes directly here in the fridge. When it's ready to bake, I take out and use this. You need to be careful. I score it and put this on top and put in the oven. So it's kind of Dutch oven, but it comes a loaf bread. So it's kind of sandwich bread, not a round one. Today we'll bake on the baking sheet. This stayed in the fridge since Friday, so we put, see, upside down. This way we put in the bowls, the same upside down. So I put here and another one. So from one bread we make 3 bread bowls. Now you use the layer. I like to take off. It's much better. But for your safety, use this. First time use that. It's much easier to cut it out. So. How you want. You play that. This is the most playful thing what you can do. You go like kind of ½ inch. Yeah. You can draw a wheat.
So there's a scientific reason why you score bread. Because as the fermentation process happens in bread, the gases inside, they need to escape somewhere. So you need to score the bread so that it helps to escape. Otherwise, if you don't score, it's going to blow out at the weakest point. So you'll see breads that blew out at the bottom. That's because they weren't scored either deep enough. And also, back in Europe a long time ago, they used to score breads because there were bakeries everywhere, and they would put their signature on it. So however they would score it, it would be, oh, I got that from so-and-so's bakery.
Yeah. So it's ready to go in the oven. Because it's open bake, we need to make steam. The Dutch oven, because it has lid, we put some ice if you want. If not, it's working without ice. It makes steam inside, so the crust builds very good and grows very good. Because we do open bake and like that here, I spray water on the bread, and I have another baking pan, so I put hot water inside. It's already warmed, hot, 20-25 minutes. You know, it depends on the oven. And that's it. You enjoy it. Don't cut the bread at least 1 hour, because still kind of bakes inside, and it goes away the how it's called, the humidity. I don't know. So wait 1 hour, and after it will dry. If you have questions, sorry, maybe step.
I saw that on here it say dust with flour on the top. Do you typically do that before you score or after?
If you want, you don't. I don't usually do it. But if you want to make beautiful, draw beautiful, you use not rice flour, because rice flour it's not stay white. You use all-purpose flour. Okay. If like on the internet, you need first to spray a little water so the flour to stick. So after you draw, I never did this. I'm not very good at drawer, so I just quick. If you have more questions, yeah.
For the open bake, what temperature you want?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, 425 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah. And for open bake, we bake like 20-25, depends. We look what color you want. So. But with Dutch oven, we bake 25 minutes with lid. And after that, we take the lid and bake another 15 minutes. Again, depends how dark you want the bread, So, yeah. The same with that. After 20-25 minutes, we take off the one. So we leave 10-15 minutes to bake more.
So when you open bake like that, that's when you use the water,
yes,
steam, and spray it.
Yes.
Other than that, if you do it that way or Dutch oven.
With that, just spray. I try to put ice on the corners, but it's not working because it's cold. Oh, the Dutch oven, we warm like 30 minutes at least. So to be hot, Dutch oven to be hot. So when we put ice, it steams. But here, because it's cold from the fridge, it doesn't do that steam. So just spray on the bread. Yeah. No. More questions?
Thank you so much, Anna. That was wonderful. So we're going to take a little intermission, about 5 or 10 minutes. And during that time, if you'd like, you can talk to Louise about her books or come and look at the magazines. And then after our short break, we will reconvene, and Kenny is going to show us how to make gluten-free sourdough bread.
All right, so we got 20 minutes left for the class, and I'm going to spend the end of the class now going over gluten-free sourdough. So there's a few things that I've done. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to weigh out 12.4 ounces of warm water. And so because gluten-free sourdough has no gluten in it, because it doesn't have any gluten in it, we have to use something to kind of act as if it had gluten. So there are several things you can use. But because I wanted to make sure that we are sticking to our mission, which is plant-based, we're going to go with psyllium husk. And so basically psyllium husk powder, which is this one right here, it's a fiber, and some people will put it in their water and then take a drink of it, and it has really good benefits for your body. And also, I'll show you guys some of the breads that I made. The bread looks like it's sourdough bread. It really does. So the one that I made this morning, so that has no gluten in it, and it actually came out really nice. And the reason why is because I use this psyllium husk. And what gluten does is it binds and it creates a strand in the bread. And fermentation makes bubbles, and it kind of pushes that bread up. So the reason why bread grows is because the fermentation is happening in between each layer. You're getting the little bubbles from the fermentation, and that it's gas, and it's getting trapped in between the gluten layers. Well, when you don't have any gluten in it, it's really hard there's nothing to trap it. So sometimes when you mix this bread, it'll come up all mushy. So you got to be, so the psyllium will help to make this jelly-like substance that we're going to use for the bread. Now, it would be really easy to go ahead and just put a ton of that gel and make it nice and thick. But you got to remember, the end result is going to be like some of the old bread that you saw, gluten-free bread, that was like jelly, is gross. It's because they had to use a lot of psyllium husk and other ingredients to make that. So I'm going to use as little as possible to still get the same result. So I'm doing, you guys have the recipe there. I'm doing 12.4 ounces of warm water. And then the psyllium husk, I put in there 0.35. Really, it's going to be close to 5 because I still want it to grow and have shape and have volume. So I'm going to go a little bit more than that recipe. You can go with the less. You're just going to get a flatter loaf. So what I usually do is I'll pour it in my mixer. Now, you don't have to have a fancy mixer. Literally, this thing is like $40. And all I'm doing is combining the ingredients. Now, a lot of people ask, well, how come you don't just mix it in? I like to make sure that the mixer is kind of doing the work for me. So I'm going to mix this mix for 5 minutes, even though it's all I'm doing is combining the ingredients, okay? So I'm going to let that sit. Sits for about 5 or 10 minutes, and it's going to create like this jelly type feel to it. So it's going to kind of gel up. You can go ahead and whip it. So what I'll do is take my, so I have pink because my wife loves pink. So I just want to let you know, okay? That's why I'm using this. Otherwise, I would be using, like this color or something like that. But so no judgment here, okay? So all I'm going to do is mix this up a little bit so it just kind of combines. And you're going to see right away, it's going to kind of thicken up a bit. We're not going to make it to where it's a complete gel because then, to me, it's not going to blend and you're going to get chunky pieces in your bread. But anyway, so 5 to 10 minutes. While that's happening, I'm going to use my same container. I'm just going to go ahead and add the rest of my wet ingredients. So the 2 ingredients that I'm going to use are olive oil, and I think it calls for 1 ounce of olive oil. You can do between just a little bit less or right up to 1 ounce of olive oil. I usually like to pour this first because I'm going to use Tribble Farms honey. Okay, just so you guys know, this is the best honey around. So there's Tribble Farms here, They're local. So I'll put the oil in first, and then I'll add my honey in just so that the honey doesn't stick to the bottom, and then it becomes, hard to work with. So I'm just going to use 0.7, so not even an ounce. And all that this honey is doing is it's just making it a little bit sweet. But I like right around 7. Usually baking is a science, it really is, but with gluten-free, it's a little bit different. This is trial and error. This is not something that you have to go home and say, oh, if I have to follow this and this perfectly. You don't have to. Now I've got my wet ingredients. The most important ingredient for sourdough is the starter. So I'm going to talk real quick about the starter. So this starter, I fed this morning. Okay, so I always put a rubber band to show where it started. So you can see it's double. Now, I use 1-to-1 flour. Basically, you can replace this flour, gluten-free flour, with flour. Exact match. So if you use 10 pounds of this, you're going to use 10 pounds of that. The reason why I use this is not necessarily recommended in the baking world because this has xanthan gum and other ingredients that will supposedly not promote this growth. But as you can see, this growth is happening. But because it does have xanthan gum, it's going to have a little bit different smell than you would normally have a sour smell. For the first few days, it doesn't smell good at all. It doesn't smell good. But now it smells great. So you can, it smells great. So it's now a sourdough. It's bubbled. It's all ready to go. So again, like I said, like Anna was explaining, to start this, I've got the recipe in the book. It's really simple. With gluten-free, you want a little bit more water because the gluten flour sucks out moisture. So I started out with this with 50 grams of water, 50 grams of flour and 60 grams of water. That's all I started it with. I have a few of these in my refrigerator, so I've grown a lot. Suggested is that when you feed it, you take out half and throw it away. You don't have to do that. If you take half you can use the other half. You can make pancakes. You can use it in muffins. You can use it in biscuits. You can use it in any baked good. So you can still have a sourdough. You can make, in my professional career, we used to make sourdough croissants. And so you use sourdough, you mix your croissant dough, then you do all your folds and all your turns, and you get a great tasting, flavorful croissant. Anyway, for this recipe, this one calls for 150 grams or 5.4 ounces of this. So all I'm going to do with the starter, again, I guess I got distracted. So now that it's more than halfway grown, it's ready. And so it's a little bit different than regular starter. You'll see bubbles and stuff like that. After 7 days, you have a choice. You can either keep it out. I put mine right on top of my fridge. Or if you're not going to make bread all the time, you put it in the refrigerator. And then what you do is you pull it out the night before you're going to make bread and you feed it. So you're going to take some of it, you're going to discard some of it or save it, but you're going to discard some of it and then you're going to feed it. So same parts. So if it's 30 grams of this, you're going to use the same parts of water and flour as well and incorporate it. Oh yeah, I actually have like 3 or 4 of them at home. I don't even know what I'm going to do with them because I usually don't eat gluten-free, so we'll see. Anyway, so now I'm going to add 150 or actually 5.4 ounces of my starter. And again, with your gluten-free, I would say the more the better, okay? Because I don't think you can really go wrong on your sourdough. So if you went a little bit over on this, it would not be that big of a deal. So like right now I'm at 6 ounces. That's fine because all it's going to do is going to add flavor to the gluten-free sourdough. So now what I'll do is I'll end up tossing that stuff because I got plenty at home. And now, now what I'm going to do is look at my psyllium, and I'm just going to see, is it starting to gel? So it is. So what I'm looking for is when I take my finger and I drag it across, it's actually dragging. You can see that it's making a little path there. Okay, that's how I like to do it. You can wait longer and make it get a little thicker, but like I told you, when you do that, at the end result is going to be a more kind of rubbery dough or a more gelish dough. As an artisan baker, that would be the last thing I'd ever want to try. So now I'm going to combine this into the psyllium husk and water. And because of time and because we've already baked in here, this is not going to be true gluten-free anymore because we're not going to bake this. This would take too long. What I'm making is this will be baked tomorrow, maybe around 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, because what I'll do is we're going to mix this. So now this is ready for my flour. So I use the same flour as I do as the starter. So you don't have to. You can actually get a brown rice flour, and then you can feed it with a different type of flour. Some people like that contrast. For the ease of this, and really for the ease of the bread, I find it easiest to just go ahead and use the same flour that you're going to use, that you use for your starter. That way I can keep things consistent. So now this is going to be the same parts. This is going to be 12.4 ounces of flour. And again, it's not... Usually I'd tell you in baking it's a science and you need to stick to the recipe, but for this one, it's trial and error. Yes, ma'am?
So with the regular bread, she was aerating it or sitting it. So do you not do that with this one?
No. No, because when you're aerating that bread, you're building the gluten structure. This one has no structure. So, in fact, you don't even really need to use a mixer for this, but it makes it easier to combine the ingredients. Now I use the pink Himalayan salt, or sea salt is best when you're baking. And that's going to be 0.4. And again, if you go a little bit over, it's not going to be terrible. If you put salt and you put your yeast or you put your starter, the salt is going to eat away and it's going to kill your starter. So I would not combine them at the exact same time. So I would make sure, that's why I put my salt on top of my flour. Or what I usually do, will blend my dry ingredients, make my wet ingredients, and then I will combine them after I've combined the dry. But there's really no need for this because I'm going to throw it on the mixer. There is one other thing. So you have a choice too. You can add baking powder, okay? So it's up to you. You can either bake it like this, or you can bake it with baking powder. Baking powder, what it's going to do is it's going to give you that extra lift. But it's also not necessarily natural, even though they say it is. It's a gluten-free product. It's non-GMO. It's up to you. I'm not against it or for it, but for this class and for what you try to believe, I try to stay away from that. But I could tell you that these breads used it. This bread did not. This bread came out better, but it's just because these are much smaller. So I'm going to show you guys all that in a minute. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm not going to add in that. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw this on the mixer. Now, again, one thing about me is I've been a baker for a long time. This, you could actually use a paddle, and it'll probably mix it better. But my brain, because it's a bread, says use the dough hook. So, I don't know. So what I like to do is I'll just kind of help mix it. Mix this for about 4 to 5 minutes. I don't think you can overmix it. If you do overmix, it's just going to be much stickier. And actually, it does have a good flavor. So if you try the bread, it doesn't taste like, it's not like the gluten-free of 20 years ago. 20 years ago, they had very little science on it, and so it would just be and I felt bad for people that were celiacs. Now, throughout my career, I did work at Whole Foods as a bakery manager for a few years ago, and I could not believe how many people have gluten allergens. And especially like celiacs. And the reason why, I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. So in the late 1950s, the U.S., there was a scientist that came up with a perfect strand of wheat. And what it meant by perfect is that it always came up the same, it would regenerate, and they all came up to the same level. Because wild wheat, you're not going to have, it's going to grow just like humans do. We're all different shapes, sizes. That's what wheat used to be. So you'd have strong wheat, you'd have weak wheat. Well, now all the wheat that we have is strong. But there's a problem with that. Used to have 26 to 28, kind of like the DNA structures to it. Now it has 46. And our bodies are not made to deal with that many types. And so that's why the gluten in the United States now, that's why everybody has a problem with it. Because it's all genetically modified. So if you are able to get it, like if you get the Icorn or you get, there's other flours out there like spelt, you can still get real spelt. Or in Europe, you'll get much better quality wheat because they didn't engineer it so that they could mass produce, you know, Kellogg's cereals and all that kind of stuff. So all I'm doing is it's going to be sticky. It's not going to be a normal bread like you would normally see. It's more of a batter. But the most important thing for gluten-free baking is using a Dutch oven, okay? The Dutch oven, number one, is you're not going to, if you put I've done it before, and I did it recently. If you put the gluten-free directly in the oven, it's going to burn on the sides, it's going to be raw in the middle, and it's not going to come up. And it stunts the growth. And so putting it in a Dutch oven creates steam. What I do when I bake, because I'm not going to bake this, I'm just going to show you what it looks like, I'm going to show you how to handle it. But what I do when I bake, when this is fully ready, we're gonna form it, and then it's gonna sit on the counter in a bowl for 2 to 4 hours, maybe longer. Okay, and then it's gonna go from the counter, and it's gonna go into the fridge, and it's going to go in the fridge for another 8 hours, and then you're gonna pull it out. What that's gonna do is all of that process, the fermentation process of this, works through, and that's why the bread tastes actually pretty good. So I'm gonna pass out some in just a second, but I think that's long enough. So just like I'm only putting this down because this is going to get absorbed, but it's going to make it easier for me to work with. In the cooking class, so as a baker myself personally, I never wear gloves. The only time I wear gloves is on finished product, okay? Because everything gets baked at 300. This stuff gets baked at 450 degrees. So in your recipe, I have 425. That, to me, I have baked some of this, like these were baked at 425. The one I baked today is at 450. The higher temperature to me is better, especially if you're baking it correctly, because all that heat, especially inside of the pot, creates oven spring. And that's what you really want on any kind of bread, especially this gluten-free bread, because otherwise it could be just flat. It still could taste good. So you're going to see it's really, really sticky, right? And that's the one thing that a lot of people don't like, and that's why they don't make this at home, but it's really not that big of a deal. This really is the only time right now, once I poured it out, is where I'm actually going to form it. Now, me being an artisan baker, like when I make rounds, I can usually take 2 and I can roll them with my hand. But anyway, as a baker, usually I'm pretty quick. I've made thousands and thousands of bread bowls. And I can use both my hands and round. This one, you have to use both your hands and just be generous and just try to shape it the best that you possibly can, because this is where your shaping happens. So that's your bread, that's your bowl right there. That's exactly how I did this one. So where you guys have seen it, this is exactly what I did. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it into a bowl. If you put any flour in it, you really don't need to. I've got a little bit of flour on top. It's going to actually go inside of the bowl. It's going to sit on the counter for 4 hours. And of course, I didn't.
What do you need?
I didn't bring my bowl, of course. The one thing that I needed for
Another
this.
glass bowl?
Yeah, glass bowl is fine. That's perfect. Actually, that's better than my bowl. Perfect. That would work out. All right. And then I'm just going to put that upside down. And I'm just going to kind of push it down in there. Now I'm just going to cover it. Like I said, it's going to sit for 4 hours. And then once it has risen, I want to see a little bit. Now you're not going to see a rise like you're going to see in sourdough, where you're going to see half or double. You may see 10 or 15%. And then that's when you know it's ready. You'll touch it. You'll put a dimple in it. It'll start to come back a little bit. And then you say, okay, cool, I'm going to put it in the refrigerator. Same container, same bowl, cover it. I would put it with plastic wrap or with a cover that comes on that bowl and set it in the cooler for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, even up to 18 hours. It's not going to move much because the fermentation process on this dough, again, is not going to go crazy. But the longer you let it sit, the more that the flavors of this gluten-free sourdough starter is going to come out. Okay, so I'm going to wash my hands, but in the meantime, I have a couple pieces. I've got some pieces of bread that I'm going to hand out. Hey, Marjorie,
Yes, sir.
do you mind maybe opening this up and handing some of this out, just so everybody can kind of get a take? This was baked yesterday. Yeah, you can just hand it out. The people that want to try it. Now, I would recommend toasting it. I think toasting it is better. That's how I like it.
A question about the starter. You gave the recipe for the gluten-free starter here.
Yes.
The starter for the regular sourdough. Am I missing it in?
No, I think she does have it. You have that in there, right, Anna? The recipe for your sourdough starter?
No.
Oh, you don't have that in there?
There is how you should feed it, but not how you
Oh, okay.
So we'll give you sourdough.
I think it's $10 extra per person, right, for that? I'm just joking. Somebody might take me serious. I'm just joking. So I'm going to slice up this one to show you the difference between yesterday's and today's. Does anybody have any questions while I cut this up? So I'm going to let you try this one. This one was baked this morning before I came. This one sat again for 12 hours. The other one sat for about 8 hours in the cooler. And the difference is, too, this is a bigger loaf. And so, I think that this is a good bread if you're gluten-free and you have an allergy. But I will tell you that it would not be my first choice, just because I love the gluten. I love gluten bread. I love bread with, like, Anna's bread is what I focus on and what I'm mainly good at. But I'll cut up some pieces so you guys can try this.
I have another question.
Yes.
About the process of the fold and the rest and the fold
Sure.
and the rest. Does it always end in the fridge 8 hours before you bake it?
Yes. That's the best.
Free or regular?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so if you rush, so you can bake a bread like this bread here, gluten-free, and you can use the baking powder, and you can bake it the same day. But again, I brought some in last week. We did a test for this class, and everybody liked the other bread rather than the one that had the baking powder in it. And if anybody have any other questions? All right, well, it's not hard. I'm just going to take time cutting while we finish up.
So right now, Marjorie and Anna are handing out the starter that Anna prepared for you so that you don't have to worry about creating your own starter to make your bread at home.
So we just feed this one.
What do you mean? What do you feed? When you say feed, what
James?
does that mean? When you're feeding your starter.
Oh, what does it mean? So feeding your starter is okay. So the starter that I have right here, for instance, right? This starter is a living organism. It needs to be fed the flour and water again. So what you need to do is mix up fresh, and you add that into the starter, and you mix it up. And what happens is the microbes and everything start to eat off of that fresh flour and fresh water, and starts to grow and expand. So when I say by feeding, so one quick thing about any sourdough is you don't want to use a starter that you just fed. So for instance, this morning, I fed my starter, so I weighed out, I had 50 grams of starter and 50 grams of water and flour. I mixed that up. If I use that right then and there, it's not optimum. It hasn't started the process, so you're not going to get a growth on your bread. That's why you got to let it sit for 7-8 hours. You could probably at 6 hours. This stuff was 7 o'clock this morning, so this is about almost 8 hours. It grew double. When you know that it's grown double, you know that it's ready. So you'll look inside of it for a regular starter, like the normal, not the starter, but the regular starter. It's going to be bubbly. You're going to smell. You're going to smell that fermentation process. The one other quick thing I would say is, I know this is difficult to hear, but for your body, the best way to eat bread is to let it cool completely and let it wait for a day or two. So the reason why is because if you eat your bread right away, because of that fermentation process, there's alcohol in that. And so what you want to try to avoid is intaking a lot of that, because that's what can mess with your blood sugar and your glucose levels. And so I know it's hard for me, because once I see a bread, I want to eat it hot. But really, optimum for your body would be to let it sit for a day or even 2 days.
Can you please tell them a little bit about how you add in ingredients when you're doing, like, for example, a cranberry walnut sourdough?
When you want to make the bread with inclusion, for example, chocolate one, you put last before go in the fridge. So when you do the last shape, you stretch a little bit and put the ingredients. The favorite one is jalapeno with cheddar cheese. Her favorite, my favorite too, it's cranberry with walnuts, dried cranberry with walnuts. There is olives, blueberry, my kids love blueberry and cream cheese. So it's a lot of things what you can make with the bread. Gives more taste. So before you put in the fridge, then you put the other ingredients.
And I think what's important is if you use the same container, but you can use the same container for a few days, but I like to change mine. Every time that I mix, I change it. And the reason why is because on the sides, it starts to crust. And that crust can then turn into mold. And once mold gets in the container, I would not even touch it. At that point, you got to throw your starter away and you start over. So I switch out. And one of the things we were talking about earlier is the reason why we don't use tap water. It's because tap water has chlorine. Chlorine will kill the growth of your sourdough. So, well, I have heard people say that you shouldn't use that, but if you just need to do the test yourself, because everybody says whatever they say, but it really, I can tell you some of the starter I had, I used most of it. I used bottled water, but I also did a test. I personally didn't see a difference, but it's suggested because our water has chlorine in it, the chlorine will kill it. Now, again, because I was using a 1-to-1 ratio that had xanthan gum, maybe that didn't allow it to die, but as far as a regular sourdough starter, you want to switch out the container.
Yeah, every time when I mix in a new container, not in the same. Yeah. There is 100. It's one. Excuse me? How many loaves you make? My recipe, it's not enough. You need 200.
Yeah, you need to feed it.
But you can make with 100 too, but the bread will ferment, will grow longer. So you need every time to save some starters for next time. So every time put in fridge the starter.
Okay, I love all y'all's questions, but we've gone over time, so let's go ahead and do our raffle. Yay. And let's close out the class. And then if y'all want to hang out and talk and visit and ask questions, you're more than welcome to. I'm not kicking
I forgot to
anybody
show
out.
the bread.
Oh, great!
Beautiful.
Yeah. So this is pretty beautiful.
Wow.